Experiences with one another and grow as brothers. Today, I am joined by Weebus brother Craig, who has been around for quite some time now and has been such a joy and such a light within Weebus. And we had to pull him onto the podcast just to be like, hey, what in the world made you join? And thank you for being such an awesome contributor to our community. So, Craig, take me back before Weebus. What was going on in your life when you decided to join?
Well, had quite a bit of upheaval, Wes. Good to meet everyone and hi. But yeah, things were chaotic in my life in that moment. I was going through a trial reconciliation with my estranged wife. We were we had previously discussed divorce, but decided we were going to try it again, and things were really stressful. And it was a recommendation from friends and family to try to find some other form of support where it was outside of the situation. So it wasn't a therapeutic thing, but somewhere where I could also, kind of grow as a person and get some social contact. So I found Weebus and was an immediate connection. We clicked, and as Wes said, we've been putting up with me ever since.
Yeah, right. Not even close. How did you find Weebus?
Well, ironically enough, it was actually my estranged wife. She had something show up in her feed, and she said, "Hey, maybe this is what you're looking for." And so I checked it out, and yeah, got linked up right away, and it was a good fit. So it's one of those cases where the you know whatever that higher power, the universe is looking out for me, and there it was. Like I was kind of in the market, but wasn't actively looking, so it found someone who was.
That's awesome. Was there anything that almost prevented you from joining?
No, no, the only challenge that I had initially was understanding the difference between the different program levels and the pricing, because obviously everything comes with different service levels. It's the way of the world, subscription based anything. And once I had a chance to talk with folks who'd been in the group for a while, I realized it wasn't really even a question of which one I wanted. It was how soon can I join?
Oh, that's awesome. Was there a certain moment that after you joined, where you were like, "Whoa, this is different"?
Well, initially, it's like I'm not contrary to maybe how I present within the group itself. I'm not much of a social person, so it takes me a minute to get comfortable with folks. So the fact that a lot of guys use it for like daily check-ins or for presenting things in a kind of a broad sense helped me to kind of find a rhythm. And once I had that and started interacting with folks, then it became much easier. And it's really kind of hard to tell what it was exactly when it clicked, but definitely at some point I realized, hey, I've like checked in every day this week,
Hmm.
and knew that it was a new habit that I'd formed and was internalizing. So it was a really good kind of feeling to know that I was comfortable doing that. I was comfortable to people, and then I was sharing things that were a little deeper than, hey, I'm going to go out and do a run today, or I'm going to be working out. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a good feeling.
That's funny you say that. I'm a fellow introvert myself, and there's only two other spaces. There's two spaces I feel like I'm not an introvert. One is I own a CrossFit gym, and so when I'm there, I'm speaking about my passion, and then whenever you're passionate about something, it's easier to talk about it, right? And the other one was Weebus, and I think it was because of what you said, that there's guys sharing more deeper level things than surface level that actually makes introverts excited to talk. We'd hate surface level talk. It's so hard to come up with conversation and to keep it going and the awkwardness of it. But when somebody's just coming on and sharing vulnerability and you go, holy cow, actually, I've been there too, which is our only rule. You can share experiences and not advice. It's like of course you can talk because you're talking about what's happened. You're talking about what you've been through. You're talking about what other people are going through. So the conversation is just more natural and it keeps going. And it feels like introverts like me and you can actually have long-term conversations with people, which is like so cool and so amazing. But let me ask you this: what did you expect when before you got in there and you're like, hey, I think I'm going to give this thing a shot? What did you think WeBus was going to be versus what did it actually become for you?
Well, I think going into it, I didn't have a ton of expectations, and I had I've done like in-person support groups.
Hmm.
I've my kids. I've got four kids. A lot of them were in like scouts, and so we would do adult leadership training, and sometimes you would have the location where you're doing your scout meetings would often have other stuff going on. So maybe it's at the church or it's at the school or what have you. And so there would be support groups there, and I would pick up a flyer and maybe go and sit in on it or whatever because I knew I needed something. I am like we said, I'm an introvert and I don't seek out friends very easily. And
Hmm.
so I'd kind of been kicking the tires on different meetups and support groups. And so I wasn't sure if this was going to be something where it was moderated or if it was going to be an open forum or what that was going to look like. And I was very happy to know that we had kind of an area where it's like a free share where people can set the topic, they can share whatever depth that they want. And then we had topic rooms. And the topic rooms immediately were of interest to me because those were areas that you could speak with like-minded individuals. And let me just say one more thing. If you're an introvert, the idea of using Marco Polo as the technology platform is so great because there are days where I don't have the bandwidth to be in like a real-time live conversation with somebody. Being able to listen to it at my own pace, respond at my own pace, that's like a game changer. Like that platform makes all the difference because it's not just a commitment of self going to these, it's also time. And so with Marco Polo, you work at your own pace. And so this entire experience has been well geared for someone who i- initially wanted to dip their toe in and then do it at their own pace. So yeah, it was very
I
cool.
know. I love that too. And I declare bankruptcy quite a bit on there, where I'm like, oh, I'm 10 videos behind you guys. I'm sorry. Reach out to me if you need something, but I'm moving on. And I love that we have that kind of rule within WeBus too, so that we don't get overwhelmed with it because you look in the main group, holy cow, there's like 50 videos a day in that thing. But when you go to the regional groups, it becomes less. And then when you get to the subject matter groups, it becomes even less. Like you're in the band one. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a that was something I went and approached Switch, one of the founding members, and said that, hey, I really love music, and it's surprising we don't have a topic room about music. And so we negotiated on the title, the branding, and all that. And so I've been moderating it since then. It's been pretty quiet recently. I mean, you posted something the other day. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
a couple weeks back, but it's pretty quiet. But it comes and goes, and
Yeah.
um, it was a good way to kind of figure out who kind of pays attention in the main group as well as who's interested in music. So it's like there's a broad kind of coalition of folks getting into the group based on where they participate and what they're interested in. So yeah, it's been really cool. I like that we have live performances and then we have people sharing studio cuts and things like that that we can all discuss. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I just love Weebus. It's like over the years, it started out as just the main group, right? Like, and we had 10 guys in there, and then that got so big that we had to start regional groups, and then those got so big that the subject matter expert groups just kind of naturally revolved out of that. So it's like you can find your place anywhere within the WeBus ecosystem. Depending on if you're an extrovert, you probably want to be in the main group and see all these videos and talk to a bunch of guys and constantly be conversing back and forth. But if you're super introvert but really into a certain topic, like we've got the garage where guys talk about cars and engines and repairing things and all that kind of stuff. And we have the groomsmen group that we just came out with as well, which is like for guys that aren't married yet but are about to get married and are about to have kids and are about to start their lives. And it's been so awesome to have these groups naturally pop up because of people like you coming and being like, hey, why don't you guys do this? And we're like, you know what? We absolutely should. That's a great space, because that's all we care about is creating space for people to come to be able to share what it is that they want to share. So thank you for starting that, by the way. And also, I'm glad that you've been able to take advantage of it. It's super cool. Did you have a moment where you thought, wow, this group is different than other groups? Like you talked about, like you would go to the church groups and stuff like that, and you would sit in on a few here or there. But when did you go like, okay, no, this is the group that I'm going to be a part of?
Well, I think it really was what sold me on it was the philosophy. Really the one common denominator is that we're all dads. We all love our kids, and that's if you're going to a group that's talking about, maybe you're the family member of someone with substance abuse, maybe you're going to a group that's talking about childhood trauma, or any number of other kind of targeted support groups, the vibe is totally different. You never really know if you're going to go in and find out that someone's like, hey, who has the best gas station hot dogs?
Yeah,
Or is
yeah.
it going to be something, or is it going to be something deep like, yeah, I just lost my dad, or y- it totally is a wealth of experience, and just people sharing of themselves, and being part of this community. It was something that I didn't know I needed, that I didn't know that I wanted until I found it. And once I found it, it's like I don't want to let it go. So
Oh, that's so awesome to
yeah.
hear, man. I feel the same, obviously, but being the founder is one thing. So to hear that from other people in the group, it just warms my heart and makes me feel so good. That's awesome. I know I've changed because of WeBus. It's made me a lot more open-minded. It made I can talk to people easier. I can start conversations randomly. But have you noticed any changes since joining WeBus?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to quantify, but
Mm,
it's like what I didn't realize was happening in my relationship with my ex was that I was being uh, held back in some ways. She was unhelpful in some aspects of our relationship, and it was really affecting my self-esteem. It was affecting the way I interacted with other people. I felt like I was taking up space in people's
mm,
lives in a way that was, unhelpful for them.
yeah.
And being part of a group where we're uplifting and we talk about things openly has shown that I do have things that people want to know about. I do have things to contribute, and the little random things that I find to be interesting or amusing aren't this unimportant thing that is just having someone that takes those little joys away from you.
Mm.
When you find a community that allows you to have those again, oh my gosh, it has been just night and day. And so for me, it was just, I can't remember what it was we were talking about, but one of the members had just like made just like a little quick react. It was no big deal, just kind of a throwaway. And it like made my entire day. And it's, kind of been y- y- kind of a hallmark of how this group has been for me the whole way through, where it's just little touches of humanity, and suddenly you're in a better space mentally. And yeah, it's hard to put a number or a experience specific to it, but that vibe has just been there since day one.
That's awesome. What's something that you've done or handled differently because of WeBus?
Oh well, certainly I have been. I I'll be honest. I also have a really good therapist right now, so it's hard to know where one
Yep.
said it's
We
where
all
one
should.
toolkit, yeah, where one toolkit ends and another begins. But I
Yes.
will say that uh, reconciliation did not work for me and my ex, and so we ultimately have decided to go through with the divorce. And having a space where I can be like, ah, and just vent
Yes.
has been so helpful because previously, as we were going through these conversations about divorce, tough questions, tough comments about our lives, our space together, those voices of frustration were pointed at each other and
Mm.
completely unhelpful to any sort of dialogue with someone that you're already in conflict with. So having a space to have that, knowing that there are other folks with lived experience to share and to be like, Craig, all of this stuff is you're in it in the moment, but eventually you're out of it. So let's try to work on ways that we can be productive about it, or even just like you need a space to let all this out. So let her rip, and
Here it is.
right. And so I've been very very much aware that this so 3 years ago when my ex and I first decided to live separately, it was a totally different set of conversations. Things were very intense, things were very emotional. We said things that were hurtful and harmful. And so this time around, we both, I mean, she still, as one does, there's tension, there's unresolved stuff. So there's ways that we push each other's buttons, but we we haven't been as contentious as we were just a year and a half ago when when we were discussing reconciliation. And even then it was like a lot of unresolved stuff. So the year or so that I've been with Weebus has been super helpful.
Man, that's awesome because it's so easy during times like that to be mean spirited, to say things that you've been wanting to say for forever. But like we talk about in Weebus, creating space and having this space that you can come to create space and other things in your life. Like usually it's a reactionary thing. I'm mad at this person, I'm going to say this thing to them. But if we could put Weebus in the middle there, where I have this reaction, I go to Weebus, I say it on there, I get it out, and then other guys come on and go, dude, been there. Oh, I remember when I was going through that. And here's where I am now. It softens everything. It allows you to talk to that other person with the words that you actually want to say, not the words that are just popping up in your head. Right. So I'm so stoked that that's what you're saying. That's amazing. You mentioned that, obviously our one rule that we have in WeBus is you can only share experiences, not advice. What has that been like for you being in company with other men specifically that aren't there to be like, all right, bro, here's what you're gonna do. Here's how you're gonna get through this. And you're like, oh, so you've been through divorce too? And they're like, no, but my buddy did. And here's, it's like, what has it been to actually have shared experience from other guys from all different levels of life and from all over the world?
Well, it's definitely it's been good to bounce stuff off each other. I will say that as one of the more seasoned members of the group, all of my kids are adults, and so uh, one of the one of the interesting things that I've experienced has been that I've always been the guy that people come soliciting advice. What do I do? What should I do? What are these things?
Hmm.
And honestly, that puts a huge burden on you
Yeah.
because if they follow what you say and it goes badly, you know, at least for myself, I feel ownership of that. Like I feel that I led them astray. And so those sorts of interactions were always stressful for me. Like try
Yeah.
to navigate and kind of waffle about what I'm telling you, like telling you to do but not do. And so this model has been really effective for me because I can be like, here's the situation. Has anyone else dealt with this? And then just listen to what other people have to say. And it doesn't have any sort of, because I'll be honest, there are certain things that have been said in the group that don't resonate with me, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
It's you take what works and leave the rest. That's it's a great philosophy.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of it is like you get this shared wisdom from all of these different places, from all of these different lifelines that people have been through, but they're all contributing in some way. You might take a little from here and a little from there and a little from this story and a little from this experience, and you can use that to experiment and to see what works for you without the feeling of like dread of, oh shoot, if I don't do this thing that that guy told me to do, I'm going to have to talk to him later and then I'm going to say I didn't do it and they're going to be upset. And like it's like no, it's we're all just there to, number one, let everybody know you're not alone. That's the number one thing. We've all been through this as well. And then number two, to like, hey, well, here's how we solved it and do what you want with that. And then number three, to check back in, right? And like, how's it going? And did it get better? And we want to know continually what's going on with you. And I don't know. That's great. That's awesome to
Yeah.
hear.
Well, I mean, you figure just, very recently I got hurt and
Mm,
had to go to the urgent care and just, kind of put I dropped a little quick polo in the group and forgot about it. And by the time I got looking at things later on in the afternoon, everyone was like, "What happened? You, you told us this horrible thing and then you disappeared." So it's really cool to have people who are looking out for you and paying attention to what you're saying because it's so easy to not feel heard in this like really noisy media driven environment we live in, and you forget that there's sometimes that there's real people out there that honestly care about you. and
yes.
and Weebus has been just like I said, just a great example of men uplifting other men. And tell you what, it like I had told my kids, I told my parents, all these folks knew that I was hurt, and not a single one of them followed up, except for the kids that I see routinely, and the one that lives
Yeah.
with me, of course. But they all kind of, yeah, they shrugged it off, and we'll check in later. But
Yeah.
Weebus was right there, like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? And it's a different vibe. It's cool. I dig it.
That's awesome. You've become such a huge contributor to Weebus, and I thank you so much for that. But I gotta ask, like, what makes you keep showing up?
Well, I mean, I see the value of it. If if I stop showing up, then it's probably an indication that something has radically changed in my life. And honestly, I think somebody would check up on me like, hey, Craig, something, what's going on? But
Yeah.
it's knowing that I'll say something, and then, like you were saying, Wes, you might have folks that declare bankruptcy every once in a while, so they've missed it. But it may be 2, 3 weeks later, and someone's like, hey, I finally got around to listening to some of these videos, and they follow up on it. And it's like, okay, well, so this was heard. It wasn't just me talking, and that is so important in keeping engagement. That folks are following back up. They're interested. They're engaged, and even if again it's not in real time, that doesn't matter because the idea is there. And I mean, I'll give you a prime example. We've got a couple of folks who only check in every now and again. But when they do, it's like a 25-minute polo. It's an investment to listen to what
Yeah.
they have to say. And the fact that folks do engage with that type of content, and they do engage with that sort of laying your heart out there for the world, it's I mean, where else are you going to find that, Wes? I mean, honestly.
Yeah, seriously. That was why I started Rebus, was because I couldn't find that anywhere. And I was just searching for that deep, meaningful conversation with other people to actually like push the ecosystem of dads to be better. Like, I've got this woo-woo thing in my head where I'm like, okay, I can use my CrossFit gym and I can use Webus to actually get closer to peace. And I think that generationally, if fathers can become better and better and better at being more present with their children, being better at their triggers, not giving into those things that they want to do, like alcohol or whatever else it may be, to deal with these, but instead coming onto Webus and having productive conversations about it and actually becoming better. Well, generationally that will make their kids softer, will make their kids more open to listening and to talking and to understanding that like the way to actually get through these things is through talking your way through them and having people actually listen and not just hear you talk like you mentioned, you know. What is, I got to ask that because you just said that people don't just hear you talk, they actually listen, right? What has that been like to like actually be heard by other men?
Well, it's interesting. Again, I know I've said interesting a bunch of times. I should probably
No, yeah, it
improve my
is.
vocabulary, but no, not to get too deep into my own personal background, but I grew up in a household where there were definitely some abuses going on, and when I became a father, I said I was not going to perpetuate those. But by virtue of that, it also meant that I had to kind of cut off some of the things that I would normally have sought out my dad for advice, for instance. And so over the past 30 years or so, I've made my own way. I have been, doing what I could on my own. And now it's really nice to know that there are other guys out there that share that experience, that they, can offer those life skills. So yeah, it's crazy because it fills a need that not everyone really knows that they have.
Mm.
And so when I see guys talking about taking their kids to the pool, they're talking about, drying their tears. These are things that I can't relate with directly because of how I grew up, but I am 100% for that being the case. Like that is the childhood that I wished I had, and certainly am 100% advocating that it's out there.
Man, it's just so cool to see a group of dads like doing the extra work, right? Because it's easy to react. It's easy to just do what was done to you as a child. You know what I mean? Because that's muscle memory for you. But to actually actively stop that reaction and to have a different response because of, well, so and so in Weebus is doing it this way, or or the things that I went through, I want to change it and make it, generational change is like, it's a lot to put on your shoulders and it's a lot to carry around to try to change that. But I just think it's so cool that we have this group of guys that are like willing to put that yoke on and to carry it around in order to help the next generation take weight off that yoke, take weight off that yoke, take weight off that yoke. And eventually, they're walking freely through the world as just these people that are listeners, that are caring, that are kind, that actually want to see people be cared for and loved for, right? And not how can I get better? How can I succeed? It's how can we succeed is kind of the goal.
Right. And not just the successes, but also the failures. What didn't work? Where did I backslide? These
Mm,
are all safe topics that we can discuss.
yeah.
So you don't have to have what a therapist I used to have called your Facebook life, where it's this perfect image that everyone sees and no one realizes the chaos and the dysfunction that's happening behind the scenes. All they see is here's this person happily traveling, or out to a restaurant with their wife, or and not realizing that the car ride over was tense and all these harsh things were being said, and all it because all the world sees is the picture of you and this person in this like romantic setting, and the idea that we can share those openly and know that even if it doesn't paint us in the most flattering light, that we know that there's no judgment, that people are going to see us for us, and and allow us to succeed or fail at our own pace, but be there for us no matter what.
What does it feel like to actually be heard by other men?
Well, I mean, again, being the older person in the room, I'm the office dad as well, so I'm kind of used to having a bully pulpit. So I do get heard. I think the problem I had was I didn't trust myself with
Mm.
what I knew and what I experienced. And so like I previously said, I would waffle. I would
Yeah.
try to give non-answers to questions. I would try to avoid hard topics just to not not be responsible for someone else's pain.
Mm.
And in the meantime, I was taking on a lot more of that stress than I realized. And so by being present, having good listening tools, as well as good sharing skills, those are all things that Weebus has certainly helped me to improve in the past year.
That's awesome. And you kind of mentioned it, and you've mentioned it kind of throughout our discussion, but what do you think most men right now in this world are missing?
Oh, I gosh, from my own personal perspective, it's just the idea of being able to have male friendships where it's not like built on a common activity. So like
Mm.
I so you're not just like having a friend that you know because you bowl with them or play baseball with them or you work with them or some other common thing. It's that you can have friendship with someone that the really the only commonality is that A, you're both dudes and B, that you're both parents, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's there are folks in the group that honestly, out in the world, we probably never would have interacted.
totally.
And the the types of things that we do interact on have been very fulfilling. And a lot of growth, a lot of opportunities to talk about things that otherwise wouldn't have even thought about. So it's been very cool. And I try to stay away from that term like the epidemic of lack of male friendship because it kind of gets twisted in the press. But
Yeah.
it's true. We've built this kind of model where if it's not transactional, if there's not a reason for you to be interacting with someone, you don't. And that sucks because we lose generational wisdom, we lose experience, we lose the ability to laugh at ourselves and laugh at the world really because
Right.
everything has to be situational. And Weebus takes that away because again, it's like things are not real time, so you have the space to process, you've got the ability to do it at your own pace. So yeah, just really cool. Like it's a great model, and can't say enough nice things about it. To be honest.
It's almost like you started the camp group that we have, or not the camp, the band group that we have, and I think of it like music. If you listen to one type of music forever and you never branch out and listen to other types of music, you can't be a good musician. If I only hang out with one group of friends that think this one thing and do this one thing, I can't be a good dad. I have to get experiences from other people and other disciplines and what they thought in order to be a well-rounded dad. And I think that that's like one of the big things. It's like a soup pot of dads that we get to jump into and just kind of learn from all of it, which is so cool. We
Yeah,
bust camp. You're going. Why?
I I am. Well, first of all, other than when I was in high school doing band camp, I have never done any summer camps. And
Cool.
that was my school was really small, so we didn't even do residential band camp. We went there in the morning and came home at night. So this will be a lot of fun. Um, I'm kind of a rough and tumble kind of guy. Hopefully my hand will have healed up well enough to really engage and enjoy with things. I mean, it's a couple
Oh
months
yeah,
from now,
you'll
so
be.
it should be. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It's something I haven't done. We did have some camp outs and things when my boys were in Boy Scouts that I got to participate in and always enjoyed it. I'm a bit of a uh, well, I never found a hill or a river or anything I never wanted to jump off of. So
For
I'm
sure.
looking definitely looking forward to seeing how we can kind of get into all sorts of mischief, get some dirt underneath our fingernails, and just you kind of bond and enjoy each other. I have made a concerted effort not to ask too many questions about what the curriculum is, because
Mm,
I think that's half the fun is when there's no spoilers. If you're going to do any sort of trust exercises, any sort of team building, those are always great going in cold. So I am following that kind of doctrine, but I yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm hoping that we can get out, commune with nature and each other, and do it
yep,
in an uplifting way.
we absolutely will. What are you hoping to get out of Bus Camp? You leave there and you're like, that was totally worth it.
Well, it's kind of hard to quantify a little bit. I mean, I want to put like real life human contact with the people I've been talking to virtually. Like
Dude,
that's the
that
number
was so
one.
rad about Bus Camp. It's like just
Yeah.
seeing you, and like be like, holy cow, look at how much bigger or smaller or whatever I thought you were.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to be the guy that was like, wow, he's like only 5'10" and a half.
Yeah. Okay.
He's a
I'm
short dude.
5'11" right there.
But yeah, I'm going to come rolling in. I talk a big talk, talk a big game. We'll see how it all rolls. But I've always been the guy that you need to volunteer. I'm the one that's right there to do it. So excited about that. I definitely want to see where there's areas where we have some hard conversations.
Yes.
Whether getting in touch with some of those things that you know I I think I saw online someone called them their emotional support traumas. So you have these like little safe things that they're still kind of bad, but you feel safe talking about them. But then
Yeah.
you have like the really deep stuff that you don't
Yeah.
really share much. This sort of environment where we're working together, playing together, eating together, sleeping in the same space, it's it becomes a like an elevation of like a heightened way of us to interact. And I fully expect that that's an area where people are going to be like, wow, I never thought I would talk about this, but here I am. And if that fits for me, then I'll share. If it doesn't, I won't. But it's knowing that that space exists and that people will avail themselves of it. That in itself is reason to go to camp. Like just
That's
hands down.
exactly what we're hoping to provide is a space where people can get better in any spiritually, physically, mentally, whatever it may be. We're hoping to just create some breakout groups and some sessions and bring in some people that inspire or make you look at something a little different or make you put something down that you've been carrying with you. So we hope everybody leaves Bus Camp feeling stronger and lighter, both physically and mentally. If there's a guy listening right now who was where you were when you joined Bus, what would you say to him?
Well, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. You get out what you put in. And so if you put the reps in both mentally and emotionally, then you are going to get dividends back. So you share, you contribute, you participate, and you do it in a repeatable routine fashion so it becomes part of your daily set of skills, then you will get huge benefit from a group like this. If you don't, if that's not your thing, then you're going to get limited benefit of it. And so it like any other tool, it's going to be as useful to you as you know how to use it
Hmm.
and how you make use of it. So I certainly I advocate everyone that I know that's a dad. I'm like, if you
Get in here.
whether you're struggling or not, this is a great place to be able to share and interact, and not everyone is ready for that. There's there still is, as we mentioned, there's this mindset that you gotta only do things when you know this person or you have a specific connection, a specific tie. Otherwise, it's this kind of scary, anxiety inducing thing where it's like, I don't want to put my stuff out there on the internet. I don't want to put my stuff out there with a stranger.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is it's our stuff. we all go through it.
That's the
So
point.
there's no reason to think of it in such a siloed way, because we we all have unique experiences, but we all also have shared experiences that are common to us by virtue of being a parent, living in the US, living, in a neighborhood, living in the country, whatever those commonalities might be, we have that overlap, and that's what we have in common. That's what we have to share, and that's what we can build on. And that's, that's my sales pitch is like, you can find your community here. This is, if you're not, especially if you're not finding it at home, if you're feeling alone, WeBus is definitely a place where you're going to find somebody who has lived this, who can support you in a way that's helpful.
I remember feeling like that where, I mean, I have tons of people around me, but I felt so alone in the moment when I was at my weakest point. And WeBus has like taken that completely away, where I no longer feel alone. No matter what I have come up inside of me, I know that there's going to be somebody on there that's going to go, me too. And I'm going to be like, okay, that's all I needed to hear, you know? One final question for you, Craig. Complete this sentence for me. WeBus is, go for it.
WeBus says go for it. That doesn't make any
Ah,
sense at all,
you
man.
go for it. WeBus is what?
No, WeBus is, I mean, it's great. Like, that's hands down, full stop. WeBus is great. I don't know where I would be today, honestly, if I hadn't, found you guys, because I do have a good therapist. She's been helpful, but her perspective is not the same as what you're going to get when we start talking about his perspective.
Mm,
So she she is useful for a lot of processing, but WeBus has been great to give me a space to be myself, to be a guy, to be a dad, and know that it's being heard and being seen, and kind of integrated into other guys' lives. And I don't really know how else to explain it. It's like it's been from day one a positive experience. There's not been anything that I can point at that I can be like, yeah, I would I would XYZ with WeBus, except no,
yeah.
it's because it's so a la carte that you can pick and choose what works for you when you want to interact. There's really no downside to it. And so the fact that the guys themselves are also helpful and uplifting just makes it that much better. And so, hands down, WeBus is great. Like, I got nothing else for you, man.
I love it. We should make that our tagline of WeBus is the a la carte place for dads. Like, that's so
I
awesome.
I don't know. That sounds kind of like a dating profile.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe we shouldn't. All right. Well, Craig, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us for a little bit. I know this is going to help some dad out there who's going to watch this in the future and be like, okay, that's probably the place for me. So I really appreciate you taking this time.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Wes.
Heck yeah. And I'll see you at WeBus Camp.
Sounds good.
All right, my man. Hang on the line, okay?
Alrighty.